Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Dialogue to Destiny. Our goal is to engage in discussions that lead to personal and systematic change. These conversations can broach subjects that some may find offensive. It is not the intent of Dialogue to Destiny to in any way offend. Our intent is to encourage open dialogue so that collectively we can all move forward.
We've been down for way too long, but now they saying we're equal. Then I'm the one that's wrong for trying to wake up all my people. Speaking facts about the system, how the wicked is ruling. But now them lights is on, it's time for us to do the schooling. Tell the whole truth, salute, this knowledge is heaven, politicking in a cipher. Breaking bread with my constituents. We melanated and all hate it. Let's just keep it real, sharing from the mind every time. That's how we truly feel. With verbal buckshots to the chest, aiming for the kill. Then bringing new life to get your mind right. There's war up in the field. So stay in tune.
All right, before we get into today's episode, I'm just asking if y'all could like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what we're doing, what you'd like to see. It will really help us grow the channel, reach more people. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dialogue to Destiny. With all of the recent shootings and the issues that we've been dealing with in the country as far as police shootings, we decided to have this conversation regarding gun violence and the Second Amendment to just kind of throw out different ideas, you know, for those that oppose or that are proponents of the Second Amendment. So I'm joined today by Brandon, my nephew again. He is a strong proponent of the Second Amendment. I'm a strong opponent, and Steve is kind of in the middle, waffling like always. So we're gonna
Have diplomacy.
we're gonna throw out some information today that hopefully may sway some people in one direction or another. So first off, I'd like to just read what the definition of the Second Amendment is. See, because I think a lot of people use that term and they really don't even know what it is. So it reads as follows: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. My focus and emphasis is going to be on that first part where it says a well-regulated militia. See, because I don't know that a militia includes an individual maintaining and holding guns and having just easy access and unlimited access to guns at any time. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Brandon, let him kind of give an idea as to why he supports the Second Amendment, and then we'll go from there.
So I agree that there needs to be some type of regulation on, maybe background checks and magazine sizes and things like that. But I think we all have a right to protect ourselves. Is what it comes down to for me. I just don't feel comfortable with the only people owning guns being military and police. I think that just puts us in a bad position, and especially just American culture in general. I mean, gun rights is built into the fabric of this nation. So to come now and try to take it away, I just don't think it'll work.
All right, what's your take on this, Steve?
Well, you said it right there in the beginning when you said the well-regulated militia. When you look at a couple of the other points that were in there, for the people having the right to bear arms against any foul, any unfairness that can come from local government. That's what it says, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they know that they have the potential that people getting voted in, man, that would probably take advantage. A small oligarchy of people or a small group of people that will run authority over the other ones. You have to be, or your lower people on the lower rungs of society, people have to be in a position to be able to protect themselves against that type of unfairness. You all right? Okay, as far as my waffling, the being in between, let me add some clarity to that. And I don't have any problem, with saying that waffling. Do I agree with the Second Amendment? Yes, to a certain extent. The reason why I agree with it is because I myself would like to have a handgun. I would like to have a shotgun, and I would like to have a rifle. Only reason why I would want the rifle because I am a cook and have the intention of going hunting because I want to do the whole from the land to the table type of thing. And I want to do it myself. I want to have that experience. If I'm going to be a carnivore, I need to have that experience from beginning to end and then be eating in whole. Using in whole as much as that animal. I'm a strong believer in that. Don't shoot for a piece of meat if you can't use the whole animal. With that being said, there should be regulations on the type of weapons that we have. We'll go all the way back to England. The crossbow at one time was outlawed for 300 or 400 years because it was the weapon of mass destruction or the nuclear weapon of its time because it pierced armor. Now, this is amongst a group of people that were in actual battle with one another. I don't feel that that's going on in society. Let's go back to that thing when we were kids, man, when we were growing up in grade school and whatnot. Sawed-off shotgun. That was supposed to be the bad weapon at the time. And if you got caught with one, a sawed-off shotgun, you were fined, penalized, taken away from you. And there was a crime that applied to that because it was no longer of any law-abiding use. You saw the shotgun off, so you have a bigger blast pattern. Now it becomes much more than taking care of the threat to injuring people that are beyond or on the periphery of that threat. Which brings me to this day and age. What do these military automatic weapons have any business in our community? They serve no law-abiding purpose. They are there for war. Lord forgive us. They're there for war, but they're not serving any law-abiding purpose within our community. What in the hell do you need one for? I'm of the mindset where you got bullets that can rip through walls and kill people from 2 or 3 blocks away, then you have attempted manslaughter whenever you use one of those guns within a certain community. Not just the immediate threat, because you don't know where those no-name bullets is going. So everybody within that community, within a certain range, should be applied to that charge. Get them out of their hands and out of our community. If you're the owner of one of those now, I think that you should keep it. But if I catch your ass out in the community or committing a crime with one of them, I think it should be 10 times. Because it's there for mass death. It's beyond protection. It's beyond defense. It's total 100, in my opinion, total 100% offensive death.
Well, I always say with like automatic weapons, you can't. You can't just buy an automatic weapon. Like for example, if you buy a AK or an AR or just anything, single fire, you can modify it.
Is that just a state law?
That's federal.
Federal law.
You can't buy anything fully automatic. It's only single fire. But people do modify those into automatic. You know, that's where the part of the problem is having the ability to buy parts that they knowingly sell, knowing that it's to make it capable of automatic fire.
Well, let me just go to the like Steve was just saying something about, like there's some justification to the Second Amendment with well-regulated militias in case we get a tyrannical government. This country is so divided that there's going to always be close to half of the population in the country that feels like we're living in under a tyrannical government. So that would almost justify half of the population to decide, hey, we want to do whatever we can to overthrow the government, right? I mean, because I can bet you that 90% of these Trump supporters right now feel that Joe Biden is a tyrant. So that's one thing that I wanted to throw out. Now, and another thing is when you allow something, it's a natural human thing to always want something more. It's like, cell phones getting, they upgrade on cell phones every year, because some people tend to want to say, hey, I want the next step. So that's why I believe I'm a person that believes in total disarmament. I don't believe that there should be guns in the hands of only the military. I don't think there should be guns in the hands of even police officers. And I wanted to kind of give you a sample of how I believe this country can be disarmed. So what you do is, I think you start by, first off, telling the country that we're going to a total disarmament. And then you offer a date and say, hey, you can voluntarily sell your guns back, the guns that you have, back to the government. They will pay you fair market value, and they will melt those guns and take them out of circulation. Another thing so the next step after you do the buyback is, of course, the penalties for disregarding the laws have to be stiff enough where people understand that by violating this, it's going to affect your life going forward. So you have to have something that says, hey, like your first violation within a 3-month period after we start this program, your first violation, you're going to get a fine. The fine may be $500. You're going to get a fine if you're caught with a gun anywhere in your possession. So that's whether it's in your car, your house, anywhere on you. And then the second violation would be jail time, and it has to be considerable jail time, 10 years. It has to be something that people know they have a big stake in this. And then if you commit a crime at any point during this period, the abolition period, what happens is you commit, whether it's a carjacking, even brandishing a gun, robbing someone and at gunpoint, any of those things would give you a life sentence in prison. See, because I think that people have to, it's just funny to me how the United States is the only country in the Western Hemisphere that has this obsession with guns. We are the only, America has more guns than the rest of the world combined. Why, and then you hear people talk about mental illness as though there's no mental illness anywhere else on the planet. Like America is the only country that deals with people that might not be stable. So when why is it that we don't hear about other countries, having these mass shootings and things like that? Because, if you have disputes, if you have conflict with other people, and you don't have a gun accessible to you, you have to learn to deal with your conflict by other means, right? So, and I think it's just like what Brandon was saying earlier about needing it for self-protection. Everybody needs self-defense. It's like we've been sold on this thing where we're all enemies of each other, and we imagine that person that you have a fear or that is going to come to you and try to kill you, he has no gun either. So there's no need for self-defense, because everyone is disarmed. So I don't, and of course in my world, yeah, the police would be the last ones to be disarmed, because you can't have a police force going up against people that have guns. So I do believe, but I'm talking about disarming the police as well. It's worked in other countries. Whatever happened to tasers, whatever happened to pepper spray, whatever happened to batons to control a person. If you know that person's not armed, there's other means that you can approach and go to that I think can resolve the dispute at that time.
Yeah, because when I talk about protection, I don't mean protection. I mean protection from police, government, and people of that nature. I don't mean necessarily, I'm scared to drive down the street or something. I need a gun. It's more so, we need to protect ourselves.
Why do you believe that the government is coming? Why have we been sold this thing that the government is coming for us, man?
Because by previous actions.
What if I put it like this here. You look at what they're doing as far as voting, and to sit up there and say that because it's not centralized towards communities of color. You know what I'm saying? That's why I think the government is after you. When you sit up there and say that somebody can't get water and something to eat while you're sitting down there in that Georgia heat.
That's a felony
Georgia
now.
heat.
It's crazy.
And you can't get some water. You gonna try to have old folks fall out because of dehydration and hunger for the right to vote? So don't sit there and think. See, because this is just on the macro level. I'm not even gonna say on the micro level of what has been done in the past since the end of slavery. Every time that black folks or people of color get a foothold or the community comes together, what do? I try to upset the apple cart with the vote. And I mean, this isn't the first time. Well, I mean, since the new millennium, this is not the first time. You got to remember what they did after 08. After Obama got in, they tried to upset the apple cart with the voting and lost over 53,000 votes in Georgia. Then the people come together, they assemble under Stacey Abrams comes together, assembles these people, they vote, and what do they want to do? Upset the apple cart. Now, the reason why they say they're going to upset the apple cart has been proven to be a lie. Now, it's been over 60 cases that they brought to the courts, man, and all of them have been thrown out. You've counted the votes in Georgia 3 times and haven't found anything that's a discrepancy. Now you want to move something forward behind closed doors amongst white men for counties that are primarily black. So this is why. See, you got to tell me why a student card is not a good enough access to voting, but your NRA registration card is. How in the hell does that make sense? I'm a student in this country with my student ID, but your gun registration card means more than that. Then you got people running around on Capitol Hill or during the insurrection, running around. Some of them are armed. Some of them do have bombs. They got pepper spray and everything. So you're coming prepared with body armor and everything else for the protection of this country. I'm willing to put this bet out here. Over half. And I could be wrong, but I'm going to ride with it anyway. I bet over half of them can't even pass the test to become a U.S. citizen.
Well, I'm sure they can't. But,
okay. But yet and still we're going to let this cat...
Well...
run around with an AR-15 and talk about who should be in and who should be out, and he can't pass the test his damn self? Well,
yeah, just the government. It's hard to. I think it's harder for millennials to really have that same trust, just because I feel like we're way more cynical and, against the government just because of actions,
Well, I understand the cynicism. What it comes from is all these conspiracies in the world, in the internet. People just throwing stuff out. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blind to the fact that there's corruption in the government. But see, like with the situation Steve was just addressing about the insurrection. See, I'm envisioning a riot where there's no guns. Those guys are disarmed too. Yeah. I don't think people can fully grasp what total disarmament is. What's up, Justin?
I was just thinking when you say, like, what I'm imagining when you describe this is like the prohibition of guns. And I think it's just clear in our country's history that prohibition of anything doesn't really work. If people want it, they're going to get their hands on it. So it's the same thing with black market drugs right now. There's heroin and cocaine that flood our streets.
I understand that.
So the people that want to get guns, I feel like, are going to get their hands on guns still. I think it's completely impossible. The number of guns that are in the country right now, how do you get all of them? Well,
that's how you regulate the militia.
There's more guns in this country. For every one person in this country right now, there's 1.25 guns. Okay. So what I'm saying, I'm not saying that it's an easy thing, but that same argument that you just made as far as disarmament is the same argument smokers made 20 years ago when they decided to turn restaurants and bars into non-smoking. It's the same argument that people have always made. They made the same argument when the law said, hey, you have to wear seatbelts. There's always, people are so afraid of change. See, and when the same people that will argue that them having a gun is a right, but it's not a right for someone to have health insurance in this country. It's not a right to. To me that's a problem, because like I said, to me personally, I believe guns are for cowards. I do. I believe that guns make a coward feel like a real man. I'm not saying that if somebody put a gun to me, it's not going to instill some fear in me. Of course, I'm going to be afraid because with a half an inch move of a finger, it can end my life. So I'm not going to sit here and because I understand what the power of that gun. But I'm personally sick and tired of turning on the news. There was another shooting last night, or a couple shootings in another city.
2 or 3, Virginia Beach.
Yeah, Virginia Beach. So what I'm saying is when all I want is to be able to turn on the news and know that there's not going to be a school shooting. There's not going to be someone that went to the store to get a gallon of milk for their kids and they never come home because some stupid ass idiot runs into the store with a gun and decides to take their life.
I'll say, 40% of this nation owns guns. Households own guns. And if you're a legal gun owner, you're gonna, the ramifications of using it. That
guy
gun
was a legal
safety.
gun owner, though, Brandon.
No, he was. Yeah, he was. That doesn't mean he had training. That doesn't mean, most people would never do that. In their head, it's only for protection. They don't even leave their home. You know what I'm saying? And then the same thing, you say you turn on the TV and you see, gun violence. That's because, I like CNN, but they're trying to.
They're sensationalizing it, huh?
They're not going to talk about the probably 20 accidents that happened in the same time that killed 3-4 people, car accidents. They're only going to talk about the guns because they know if I watch CNN, I want to, that's going to be important to me.
But the key word here, the operative word here, and we're going to relate the two, is accidents. How many intentional accidents are there? Or intentional car crashes as opposed to accidental car crashes, okay? As opposed to accidental gun shootings, which happen, versus intentional. And I think that's where when you make that comparison, you look at those two and they flip-flop. The intentional gun death is high. Accidental gun death is low. Intentional car crashes are real low. Accidental car crashes are high. So that becomes a comparison of two different fruits, the apple and the orange, okay? So, it's hard to make that comparison when you start to pull back the layers of it. And it makes perfect sense on the surface. But as you peel it back, it's like there's some different mitigating factors in there, that being one of them, the accidental gun death. Because usually when somebody picks up that gun and they pop that clip in there, they're on some intentional shit. You know what I mean? So what happens beyond that point is a very intentional, premeditated act, where there is no premeditated act within the car accident. Now, there may be the one where, old girl want to run a man over, you know what I'm saying? Or smash the car into something, or some people use their vehicles as a means of suicide. Whether they're sitting there with the engine running or they just off a cliff. Those things have happened. So the intentionality versus the accidental, I think they're so far apart in both groups. So, to have a fair comparison there. My thing is, once again, I think everybody has the right to bear arms, but it's the type of arms. A nuclear bomb is armament, right? Do I need a missile silo in my backyard to feel safe against society? No, I do not.
Well, see, for me, the gun is the only thing manufactured that when used in for its proper purpose, it causes death. Because everybody wants to say, well, people can die from a knife, they can die from car accidents, they can die from airplane accidents, but a knife, the purpose of a knife is not to kill. The purpose, there's so many other functions that you can have, that you can perform with a knife but a gun, you can go to the gun range and shoot, and practice hitting targets or whatever, but a gun, the purpose of a gun is to kill. And so my thing is I don't have the perfect answer for how to deal with guns. Now when you talk about like well-regulated militias, I can somewhat understand, you having I look at them as just gangs or a gun club or something like that. Why don't they have, or why aren't guns required to be stored in like an armory or something like that? Why can't every community have its own armory that the taxpayers or the property taxes go toward, that helps to house those guns, so that, because if somebody's at the point where they're ready to kill someone, just that time of having to go from their house, sign out their gun at their armory may be enough to diffuse the situation to the point where somebody lives.
That's fine, Dak or Jim Dandy, but what do I do for this cat, man, that's, might have a mental illness or is just on one?
That's why you take them off. Personally, you take them off.
And that's why you trying to come into my house. Now you got this cat, this man, 6'4", 280 pounds, man, built like a brick, man, and me at 155 pounds, 5'8" and a half, 5'9", 155 pounds. This cat comes in my door. You think I'm gonna drop down like Vern Gagne and try to wrestle this cat? I'm gonna let a hot one ride, man. You coming up in my crib? I'm gonna let a hot one ride on this behind, man. Get out immediately. And I ain't got time to say, hold on, bro, man, I need to run down to the armory and check my stuff out, man. Hold on, leave my stuff alone till I come back, man. Here's a cup of coffee and a donut. Hold on. And then come back. All right, now put down the coffee and the donut.
Steve, they've done simulations, man, where they had like a group of people sitting in a restaurant or something. They've done simulations. See, because you always hear these little rednecks talk about, a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. Okay. They've done simulations. They've studied this. They've done all these studies, man, that show that when you're ambushed, it doesn't matter. If somebody were to run in your damn door with the AR, and you got your little 9mm Glock sitting right next to you, and you got 10 people in that house, and this person runs through the door firing, you're all dead. Right. You're all dead. So my thing is if that person is going to come into your house, Steve, even unless you are in a position where your gun is easily accessible, he has no gun, he doesn't have this element of surprise to get you, you're going to be got anyway. I mean,
most people keep their doors locked, man. So I'm
gonna tell you something, Steve. Somebody could kick that door in and be within your house in a matter of a split second, man.
Okay, they probably could do all that, man. And I mean, this is the most highly unlikely scenario. Somebody gonna come and kick my door in while I'm there. And I mean, if we want to put it on there, that's fine. But when you kick that door in, be ready.
Well, the unfortunate part is the only time that stuff happens is when police do it, and in many cases they've done it to the wrong house and still kill people and they're not held accountable. So that's another issue I have is like, I don't want the cops having guns and we can't have guns.
What if the police? Yeah. What if they're not armed though? What if the police?
They're too scared. Those dudes would not be cops anymore then. Well, they would be way too scared to. I don't
believe that. I believe if they knew that they were going into situations with unarmed people, I believe that they probably would be okay. Hey, I got a taser, I got my mace or pepper spray, and I got a baton. In most situations, I'm still in an advantage over anybody.
They go into those situations now and don't use those things. They go in situations
because they don't understand what that other person has, man.
Okay, because they're scared. Let me ask you this. If the police are armed and the citizens are not armed, do you honestly believe that's going to bring better the relationship between police and the black community, or worsen it? And when you said redneck, define that.
Well, it's rednecks that say that kind of shit. It's
rednecks. Define that, because I just want to, I don't want to be derogatory.
Well, you know what I mean by redneck.
I think I know what you mean.
Well, you know what? A redneck to me is a white dude that walks around. And I mean, I'll throw that out there. I'm not saying every white person's a redneck. But there are rednecks. If you got views that, hey, this is my country, go back to Africa, you're a fucking redneck. That's exactly what you are. You're somebody that somehow believes that your whiteness has paid your way to this, paid your toll to this country.
So is the redneck different than the cracker? Because I mean,
Of course they are.
Okay,
The redneck is different than a cracker.
Okay, yeah, because usually redneck is a southern person. The neck is red from the front
No,
of the work,
a
you know what I
redneck
mean?
is a derogatory term used against white people. Period.
But usually the term redneck is somebody from the field. Okay, that's why the neck is red.
I know, but we don't have to go into all these historical definitions.
What I'm trying to say is, when you say the redneck and you want to say the cracker, just so we can add some definition and hopefully not use the term.
I don't use the term cracker, though.
Okay,
You'll never hear me say that.
Either one. I don't think
Because a cracker is any white person.
Jigaboo or spook. Okay, all right. Now I'm just saying either one. We don't want either one of them used, so I want to pay that type of respect. I want to give. I want to give what I want to receive. And with that being said, that cracker, which is usually normally a northern term, you know, versus the redneck, don't think that the cracker terms being used has a different view of not wanting you here, wanting your ass back in Africa any less or any more or greater than the person in the South. So we have to address the situation and not attack
I'm gonna use the goddamn term redneck because a redneck is like I said, I know what I mean when I say redneck. A cracker to me is a word that's used against white people that would be the same as using the N word against black people.
Exactly.
Okay, so that encompasses all all black people, or all white people. The term cracker. I don't use that term.
If we're gonna say N word, then we're gonna say our word. We're gonna give it the same amount of respect.
No, I'm gonna say redneck.
I am.
You can say what you want.
I am. I'm gonna be respectful.
All right, go ahead.
I want to be respectful because I don't want to lose anybody in the audience saying these brothers.
You know what, Steve? I'm gonna tell you something. Like I said, if the word redneck offends you, you're the motherfucking problem. You're the problem.
How would I be the problem, man?
Because they got Jeff Foxworthy that makes a whole goddamn comedy series.
My name is Steve.
No, I'm talking about somebody that uses the term rednecks. He uses that all the time.
And he's entitled to use that. Just like you walk through our community, man, and you hear the word nigger bandied about amongst us, man, but let somebody outside the community.
You can go on with all that political correctness. But for me,
I'm just talking about bridging the gap. See, when I talk about the community I want to be part of, it's always a mosaic. It's always a mosaic of people. I don't want to offend any of the willing.
I don't care about offending rednecks because it was rednecks that broke into the Capitol. It was rednecks that sit here and support Donald Trump. I don't give a damn about offending no redneck, man. Now, like I said. If you don't understand what a person means between the difference between a redneck and a cracker, as you say, that's your problem. I understand the difference. See, because a redneck to me doesn't encompass all white people.
Okay, don't assume when you have these type of conversations that are recorded, man. Don't sit there and assume that everybody's where you're at.
Well, I'm glad you asked for clarification.
You have to speak to your audience. You know, you don't want to lose your audience. So we have to speak to our audience and be.
We don't spend 10 minutes arguing about the term redneck, man. We supposed to be talking about gun violence.
Right,
man.
but you know what? We're gonna have to do it in a respectful manner. Otherwise, you lose people's audience. Some of the people that need to hear the thing on the Second Amendment.
Steve, I'm gonna tell you something. Okay. If I was watching a Rednecks podcast, they wouldn't have any problem using nigger or using coon or whatever they want to use. This is a black man's podcast, and I'm going to talk about the things that are important to me as a black man.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, if you consider yourself a redneck, I want you to be offended by the fact that I said redneck. I don't think most white people are going to consider themselves redneck. I believe most sensible white people out here understand that redneck is a derogatory term used against a certain part of their community, not the entire community. So like I said, I stand on what I say.
Okay. Yeah, because I even I definitely hear white people even saying that. They'll call other white people like trailer trash and stuff like that.
That's exactly right. I mean, I hear white people say, "Oh, they're nothing but rednecks," because they know that there's a difference between them and that person.
Okay, but I mean, sometimes there's things that go on within families or groups of people that people outside of that periphery or outside of that group of people, outside that situation.
Well, do I get credit for being half? Because I'm a half redneck then, right?
Pink neck, okay, but my thing is that sometimes that there's something that people inside of a group go through.
We understand
that brings them together. That words that they use amongst each other It's okay between them. An example, I've seen groups of women come together and say, "Oh, bitch," between each other.
Yeah.
I have more sense. And them women the same color as me. I have more sense than to walk off into that group of people and say, "Bitch," to any of them. I know I'm going to get my head taken clean off. Why? Because I haven't been through what those sisters have been through.
But see, that's the thing. Like,
You know what I'm saying?
For example, if you go out, 20 minutes outside of Maple Grove, it's all country, right? You go out there, you're gonna see trucks maybe with Confederate flags and gun stickers in the window. Those are the people that I'm saying. Those people are unstable, uneducated, ignorant. If all they need is an order from somebody like a Trump or something like that, and they're gonna attack. I want to be able to protect myself from people like that.
But but those people feel the exact same way.
They do.
I mean, I got people that I know, Brandon, that are white, that are going in taking concealed carry classes right now.
Yeah.
That never would have thought about it because they feel that they need to protect themselves against Black Lives Matter or black people in general or Antifa. They feel the same way. See, and that's what's happened. Everybody wants to keep talking about the media. See, social media, what that has done is it's tainted everybody's minds into believing that we're all enemies of each other.
Well, we are though.
Why would you think that we're all enemies?
That's just where we're at right now in society.
See, I think that's propaganda, man.
No, but you had a Black Lives Matter march walking past a couple's house, and they come outside pointing their guns at them. Nobody in Black Lives Matter march had a gun on them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
or walked on their property.
Yeah, or on their press. So it's these people. It goes
okay, but
deeper for them.
You know what you do in a situation like that. Like I said, with that many people, you go take their fucking guns. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the problem.
You go first.
Huh?
You go first.
I would. But see, you know what? The thing is, Steve, is like I said, man, you got thousands and thousands of people. See, but that's what guns do, is it makes a coward feel strong. See, do you really believe that man would have come out to the curb and yelled racial epithets or told Black Lives Matter, fuck you? Or do you really believe he would have done that if he didn't have that piece of steel in his hands? You know what, man? Like I said, it's that courage that these punks get from holding a goddamn gun that makes me sick. I am so tired of of people, whether you're black, white, or whatever, man. I don't care if you're a black dude living in North Minneapolis or a white dude living in Zumbrota Falls or whatever. I don't care. If you're somebody that feels that a gun is going to make you a man, make you grow some testicles, that's your damn problem, man.
But that's a different conversation though, because that's not every gun owner. That's a small portion
of the mental issue that we that we really need to focus on. The whole thing as far as mental health that they've gotten rid of and have pushed into the police departments. Where they've got to pick these people up and keep them in jail. See, we used to have these things set up for mental health where they took away so they can raise the profit. See, the product of the people is not important. The production of good citizenship is not important, but profit from them people is. See, so where is our mindset at?
Okay,
are we going to produce?
The last five mass murders that we've had in this country. I mean, whether it's these two that just happened, how about the dude how about the guy that just shot those people down in Las Vegas or a couple years ago? All of these people, what was the common thing?
Automatic weapon.
No previous record. They had no previous criminal record. See, so just going off of someone's criminal record or their past, because how does a store know, or how does anybody selling a gun know if what somebody's mental state is? Well, I can walk up to my son. My son just moved back here from Texas, and he told me that he went into a store and in 30 minutes he walked out with a gun. In 30 minutes. Now, see, the problem is because you always hear, and I'm going to use the term again, these fucking rednecks, you always hear them talk, on Fox News and all this crap, talking about, well, You know, you guys complain about police killings, but what about Chicago? Every weekend there's people being, and Chicago supposedly has the stiff gun laws. Chicago's 30 minutes from fucking Gary, Indiana, which Indiana has the loosest gun laws in this country. And then on top of that, they're 40 minutes away from Wisconsin, who has pretty loose gun laws. So they can go in any direction in 45 minutes or so and be buying a gun and bring it back. So I mean, like I said, man, people have a tendency to try to justify shit until we get to a point that we at least have to start by making gun laws uniform across the country. Yeah, let's at least get to a point where we say, hey, people can't cross state lines and buy guns because they have loose gun laws and then bring them back because, you know, I mean, that's what's crazy. I looked up a stat, man. I looked something up it listed the top 6 countries in the world with gun violence and gun deaths. United States was like number 2 behind Brazil, but all of the other states were all in South America. Where do you think Guatemala and Mexico? Mexico's not South America, but where do you think all these other countries, Colombia, where do you think they're getting their guns?
They could get them from anywhere.
But where do you think the fact is that they're getting? More than half of the guns sold in those countries come from the United States.
I would disagree.
It's a fact, man.
I would say they're coming from Russia or another arms dealer. You know,
and sometimes the guns that they get from America take a different route before they get there. So it usually wouldn't be a direct connect from here to there. Okay, we sell to somebody else, and then they sell at a profit. Well, to somewhere else. Now, it might have originated here, but sometimes after the fact, you have no control over that. But to say about these guns that were bought, and there's no evaluation. Do you know just being a licensed driver and wearing glasses, got to take the eye test every so often.
Yeah,
your old ass need to take a
and with that being said, check out his mental capability. Steven, do you know what year it is? Do you know who president is? You know those questions that they ask. Maybe something like that. If you're gonna have somebody armed out in society, man, that you take their pulse every couple of years to make sure they're all right.
That's what needs to happen.
And so a few questions, man. And then if you don't meet the, your mental competencies are starting to fade. You know what I'm saying? Then we have to start looking at taking your gun, because we do look at taking people's licenses from when their vision goes down and their reflexes and their mental capabilities start to diminish. See, we do those things when it comes to cars, and and in order to keep it, you have to be in pretty decent mental and physical health in order to keep your license. It should be no different with a gun.
Yeah, especially in the social media era, they need to be adding that to the licensing or to the background checks as well. Sometimes they'll go look at this person's social media and see they were talking crazy for a long time. Then they bought a gun and did something. So I agree, background checks.
But most shootings happen in the home. Okay, most shootings are accidental, where little Billy is spending the night with John, and John's dad has a gun, and John says, "Hey, do you want to see my dad's gun?" They go in the room, and John says, "Well, he never keeps bullets in it." Boom, and Billy's dead.
That's on the gun owner.
No, when it comes to suicide and most of the deaths by gun in this country
are suicide.
Are either suicide or accidental death.
It's not the scenario that you put out there.
I said accidental deaths though too. I mean,
accidental ones are low, but
very low.
That always falls on the gun owners. I mean, you have to have gun safety. It should be a gun lock on there, or they shouldn't be loaded. It should be in a safe. It should be
gun lock's really gonna do you a lot of good if somebody ambushes your house with a gun. Though it's gonna be, by the time you get your key and unlock your gun, and you're dead. You had something you want to add, Justin?
I was just thinking about guns coming from the United States and going into other countries. There's cases of it coming out of like sheriff's offices and being sold directly to Mexican cartels. Like there is a lot of traffic of guns going directly to South America specifically. Yeah,
well, it's a fact. I mean, I looked up those stats. It's like half of the guns sold in those countries I named. There's like 5 other countries. You got Nicaragua, you got Colombia, Mexico, and another one. That is the truth. Half of them come from the United States.
Well, I still feel like though you want to take away guns, but that doesn't deal with the root cause of why people are using it, for either violence or to kill themselves. Because I looked at the up a stat for last year for 2019 there were 23,941 firearm suicides. So why don't we deal with the mental health? And then that'll save 23,000 lives.
How many? But out of that 23,000, how many of them used the gun and might have, if they had to do something else, they may have reconsidered that suicide. Because once you can overdose on pills. And get rushed to the ER and have them pump that out and still survive. You put a bullet through your brain. You got a very, very slim chance of surviving that, because that's one thing that's reversible. There's a lot of people that I've heard as public speakers or whatever that I've heard that attempted suicide, and they said, I am so glad that I lived. There's probably a lot of people that put a gun up to their head and pulled that trigger, that if they could have thought for another second or something, most of those people probably would have said, you know what, if I had to do it all over again, I would not have killed myself. So the thing is, a gun has such finality to it. Whereas there's other options. Even if you jump off of a bridge, you might break a few bones, but if somebody gets to you in time and rushes you to the ER, you may survive that. But blowing your brain out or shooting yourself through the heart, that's a whole different thing. But
see, that's a root cause though. That's what I'm saying. The gun is just a gun. Like, why don't we deal with the root cause of why people are doing it? But
we can deal with that. A lot of people don't reach out for it. There's help for people. They got suicide hotlines all across this country. They got mental health issues. They got mental health facilities all around this country. People, people can't help you if you don't reach out for help. They can't.
Yeah, but I feel like we just created this society to where it festers mental health. It festers depression.
But you don't think
anxiety.
other countries have issues with mental health?
Not like America, no.
So you think we live in the most depressing country in the world?
Yeah, I think we do.
I think we do as black people, but I don't think we do as other races of people. What do you want to say, Justin?
I was just thinking, for some people, the psychology behind the reasons they carry out a mass shooting is similar to suicide. Like, sometimes it is like an act of suicide. They're just trying to cause as much destruction onto the world that they view has done them dirty through their whole existence. They want to hurt as much as they possibly can on their way out. Yeah. And a lot of times they hope to die in the process, or they know, maybe they'll get some glory now as their name gets publicized and so on. So, yeah.
True. You got something you want to say, man?
No, I'm gonna keep listening to stuff.
No, man, because like another thing, since you wanted to hand it back to me, I'm gonna take it and run, man. Another thing that I'm getting tired of hearing are these so-called Christians, and I always use that term so-called because I don't believe that they're really Christians, But there's so many people that call themselves Christians that are running around posting pictures on Facebook about how they just left the gun range and how they just got their little conceal and carry permit, And I always go back to when they came to take Jesus and put him on trial, and Jesus was being grabbed, and Peter cut someone's ear off. What did Jesus tell Simon Peter at that time? What did he?
Go ahead and tell him.
No, what I understand Jesus said is, if you live by the sword, you shall perish by the sword. So what I'm saying is people have a tendency to get caught up in their own political BS out here today, and they get so caught up in dumb shit that I don't even really believe that they understand that worshiping guns and feeling good about the fact that you hit a target with a gun that you went out and bought because your pastor or your stupid ass president told you that black people are coming for you or white people are coming for you, so you got to go out and have this so-called protection for yourself. It's ridiculous, because I know that what the Bible says. I know that the Bible says You live by the sword, you shall perish by the sword. Okay. So well, I mean, is that an argument that's valid when it comes to Christians believing in guns?
Hell no.
Tell me why, Steve.
Hell no. Well, what would make you think that a Christian doesn't deserve to have a gun?
Okay, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Do you think Jesus would want a conceal and carry permit today if he were alive? Do you really believe Jesus would be in the front of the line going shooting targets and shit?
Not everybody is a gun owner. Just like there's different roles and different factions to play within religion. But I mean, where did you see to be unprepared? I mean, one of our famous sermons and passages is to be armored up. You don't go armored up. You don't go in there armored up. You don't have the conversation about
who are you armored up against, Steve?
You're armored up against the forces of this world. Okay.
No, you're armored up against your enemies. So are there enemies within our borders? That's what we need to deal with. Is the fact that we have such a fraction.
Okay. Let me finish, and then you can attack it at the end. But let's get the whole thing out there so you know the whole thought.
All right.
Okay. So I'm just trying to get wherever you read that it said that we shouldn't be armored up.
It's in Matthew.
I said where we should not be armored up. I know where the verse is at, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And we don't live by, but don't think that we would not use the sword.
Well,
Don't run up with your gun up and don't think you're going to get spun up, boy. For real. Well, don't think that, Christians just turn the other cheek and it don't mean me following through with my hook.
You're making my point.
Yeah, that you don't follow through my hook. See, you got to stop thinking Christians are supposed to be just soft and passive at all times. Don't run up on us. You got people
doing exactly what you're saying. Protecting himself and protecting Jesus, right?
He went out on the edge. He didn't go to. He didn't.
The enemies were there to take Jesus.
Okay,
man.
shush. And let me finish, man. That way you don't distort the conversation. Okay?
Go ahead.
Know what I'm saying?
Go ahead,
Peter
man.
was in protecting somebody else that didn't need protection. See, he wasn't trying to protect himself. Okay? So when you're going to iterate, repeat those type of things, make sure you get those right. Okay? So don't make it seem like another reference. We're going to go back to so-called Christians. Why in the hell do you think that we should be sitting there disarmed, man, at people running up in our churches, whether it be the synagogue, whether it be the church, whether it be the assembly, that they should be able to run up in there and shoot us up, and we just sit there.
I can tell you why.
You know why? We're not going to do that. Well, we are not going to just sit there.
People always tell me,
and let the forces come against me. Now, I make sure you get it right, man.
No, people always tell me that, hey, the blood of Jesus protects me, right?
Yeah.
So if you're in a church, is
that spiritually or on this plane here?
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
no,
it does.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Because
Jesus,
I don't want you to distort that.
No, seriously, if you are a true believer, you are cleansed in Jesus, in God's blood, Jesus' blood. You don't have the same fears as the rest of society. It doesn't bother you that other people have to be gunned down, armed because they're so worried about, because when you walk into God's house, you're supposed to believe that there's nothing that can come. I always hear Christians say that, nothing can come against God. God, I mean,
I think that's a silly outlook, man.
That's a Christian outlook.
No, that's your view.
No,
that's your view.
Have you guys not heard people say that?
I mean, I've heard people say
you've
it,
heard that, but you know what? You're taking it out of context. Yeah, I'm just saying you're taking it out of context. If you want to pigeonhole it into something like that, because I'm gonna tell you right now, run up on this one.
What's gonna happen, man?
Run up on this one. Run up on this one.
Man,
turn it up
150
pounds, man. But you get somebody in that same range, that same weight range, we can tussle. We can ball them up. We can curl them up, man. Throw them fast as hard as you want to. You run up on me, expect a hot one.
You gonna shoot me, man?
Yes.
Whatever, man.
You gonna get the water, bruh. Leave me alone.
I'll say it like this. This is another way I would
pop.
I describe it to people as like, you think about your kids, like you think about your daughter. Would you want her to be able to protect herself if there was a man that was trying to either come into her house or you know what I'm saying?
I think there's other tools of protection though.
How? What else?
I think pepper spray will. It will.
Mess around. Mess around and irritate
if
that
somebody
brother.
came in this house right now, Brandon, and did one held down the button for 1 second and pepper spray, it would run all of us up out of this house.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
You know. So what I'm saying is, no, if your daughter has pepper spray with her, because that same person that's going to violate her could probably overpower her and take that gun from her too. The pepper spray.
I mean, it could, but she has her chances will be much better with that gun. I would want my daughter to have a gun, you know, and know how to use it and protect yourself.
Well, my daughter has a gun, and I ain't really happy about it. I mean,
what?
I mean, I'm not.
How many women have carried out mass shootings? So, what if it's just women that can have guns?
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? And I would probably be okay with that. That's a good question.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Boy, you thought that movie The Burning Bed and Lorena Bobby got famous, you know what I'm saying, man? You
that's
be
a
walking
good point.
around, man, like trench coat Annie, man, brothers laid out.
That's a good.
You know, but I like I
Like
said,
Christy Love or Cleopatra Jones. You got all these sisters running around with pistols. Nah.
I mean, like even for hunters, man, you know, a lot of people they use that argument. Well, you know, I need to hunt just like you did a little while ago. I want to be able to hunt and this and that. You know, if hunting is a seasonal sport, right? So you know that I can only hunt this specific animal from this time to this time or whatever. You know, why does that person that wants to hunt deer, they only want to hunt deer, you know, for 3 months out of the year, 2 months, however long the deer hunting season lasts, why do they need to have that gun in their home the rest of the year?
Because it's
Why?
theirs.
Yeah, it's theirs. It's
They
their
don't want
property.
nobody else using it.
And what if it never comes out of their gun locker? You know what I'm saying?
Rifles
How
are
can you-
very personal, man.
Yeah,
They're very
those
personal
people
item,
pass
man,
them
where
down.
you got your scopes
Yeah.
on there set to it is. You got your sight and everything set
Okay,
on there.
well-
it's a very personal item, man.
Okay, but going back
Even to the Wild West,
saying that,
handguns.
let me give you a scenario that I think might please both sides of the argument. let me put it like this. What if, like you were talking about cars and stuff earlier, what if guns had to be like there was from the time of manufacture to the time of destruction, that it was completely destroyed, they had to have a title that carried that went along with that gun. So if I'm a gun owner and if I want to sell you a gun, Steve, I have to, just like in a car, I got to sign that title over to you.
They do.
And then that, no, they don't. Not maybe they might in some states, but that's not nationwide. Most people, Steve,
It's probably not. It's
Brandon,
probably
do you
not
have
adhered to.
If I were to want to buy one of your guns from you, what is the process in Minnesota? Minnesota's probably a pretty liberal state. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure they got pretty strict gun laws.
Yeah, there's
But-
paperwork for it. You know.
yeah, but see, because in a lot of states there is none. If I wanted to sell a gun to Justin or sell one to you, you give me $200. I want to sell it for $200. I just hand you the gun. You're going about your business.
Yeah.
So on top of it being registered, because like you were saying earlier, there's no aptitude test for gun shooting, right? I mean, you don't, like for driving, you have to go and take an examination, a written examination. Then you have to go in and show your ability to handle this car properly so that it's safe for you to drive on the street. People are able to go get guns, and they could be shooting, their target could be here, and they're cockeyed or something, and they're shooting over here and accidentally shoot someone else. So my thing is I believe that there should be at least an aptitude. You have to be able to go in and perform the functions and prove that you know how to handle your gun, you know how to store it safely. You need to register your gun the same way you register a car, and you need to have liability insurance. Because if my son Billy comes to your house and John accidentally shoots him, I want to know that because if I'm driving around, if you're driving around with my son in your car, you get into a car accident and kill my son, your insurance has some responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Whereas if somebody goes and their kid gets shot at another person's house, that person, you can sue that person. Yeah. But there's no guarantee that you're going to get reimbursed for, or not. You can't say reimbursed. You can't really say reimbursed for a person's life. Right. But there's no way that you're going to get compensated for the loss of your child. I mean, you can't. So what do you think about making people have liability insurance?
Right. I had to strapulate on that. They do have insurance for gun ownership. So that's something that they do have out there. And
Do they require it though?
It's not.
Well,
a requirement.
It's
it's
required-
not.
it's
It's not a
required if you drive a
requirement.
car.
It's not a requirement. But let me finish out, man. Instead of attacking every word, man, let's attack the conversation and
You
not
gotta,
every
you
word.
gotta come right with it.
I am coming right with it. You know what? They do have gun insurance out there. You said, what if? Well, the question is answered. They do. Is everybody getting it? No. Not everybody driving out here on the street has car
There's
insurance.
consequences if they don't,
Okay, and there should be consequences here.
there's not.
Okay, there should be consequences here as well. Finish the conversation, please, Dak. Hold it, man, please. It's
Gotta speed that shit up, man.
No, man, slow down. Ain't nobody rushing you, bro. You know, there's something like that. Another thing that should be added to that, an addendum. You should have to have some type of umbrella insurance over your house if you're going to be a gun owner, because you have that gun in there and there is the possibility or scenario that you spoke of. You must have that in place as well. You know, these are things that you have to go in there. Now, you're a big gun, you oppose gun ownership, all that, right? 100%, right?
I do.
Okay, so when you go get your gun, okay? When you go get your gun, then you're going to find out more things about it. As far as hold up, because I don't want to lose the whole scope. And see, that's what this chopping it up does. It makes you lose the
Man,
I don't
why
care.
are you
It's
the
my-
only one that ever says that, man?
Because you're the one that I'm the one you're always interrupting.
No,
See,
that ain't
everybody,
true.
everybody else gets a little more respect. So let me
Oh,
just
get
finish.
outta here,
Okay,
man.
okay, I'm gonna stay right here. But we're going to go in here and say that this here is when you go get your gun, Mr. Opponent, you're going to find out that you have to fill out the paperwork because you're going to do it right?
If I were to get a gun, yeah, I would.
Okay,
definitely
if
have
you
to do it
were.
right.
Now it's if you were.
No, if I were.
Okay,
Steve,
okay, if you were.
I have never looked into I have never taken the first step to getting a gun.
You have
Other
not
than-
taken it,
No,
but you did the first thing and talked about it.
I've talked about it, and I feel like I'm being forced
Then
into it.
you're going to, well, forced or not, you know, when you go and follow the process, you'll find that you fill out the paperwork and that you schedule your place to go down to the gun range, man, and to actually get tested, but so you can get certified in order to go buy the gun. See, there's certain steps that you have to go
In
through.
Minnesota, yes.
Right, there's certain steps, and that's all I can speak to right now, man. Like I
we
said,
don't live in just the world. We're talking to people that aren't just in Minnesota.
Okay, then let us set the tone. Okay? Okay? Let's speak about the backyard that we're in.
Okay.
Okay, we can do more here than I can anywhere else, right? Because this is where we live. This is where we lay our head, right?
I guess,
Okay, man, let's just finish the conversation, man. It's just irritating, man, to be continuing.
It's irritating that it takes you two minutes to say one effing sentence.
Okay,
man.
but nobody's blocking you when you take whatever amount of time that you want. When you're running your mouth. Go ahead.
No, you too busy
go
telling.
ahead. Go
no,
ahead.
What I'm
Go
trying
ahead.
to say. Well,
Go
I will
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I mean, the thing is, you know, you're speaking on laws. You have to first off understand that gun laws change 20 miles. Wisconsin, the border of Wisconsin is 25, 30 miles from here.
Did we agree we were going to talk about Minnesota? Now we back off from
No,
Wisconsin.
you agreed to that.
I
didn't
asked
agree
you,
to
you
that.
said yeah.
You know what I'm saying is Steve, that doesn't mean shit, because if I live in Minnesota, if I live in Minnesota and I don't meet all of the requirements of the state of Minnesota to go and purchase a gun, all I got to do is drive 25 miles away and I can get a fucking gun. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't. So what your point in saying all these rules and regulations that Minnesota has doesn't mean anything. Because if I'm serious about killing somebody, I'm willing to drive 25 minutes away to go get that goddamn
So no
weapon.
matter if you have a gun or not and you want to break the law, you're going to.
Of course, yeah, you're right.
Okay.
So you don't like
That's why you take away guns.
no, but see that you want to take them all away, and I'm thinking more so of, well, you know they're gonna commit the crime if they have a gun. Why wouldn't you want one to protect yourself then? You just want to get rid. We will never be able to get rid of all the guns
But he's
ever.
being forced to get one.
Yeah, but
But going back to what you were saying about that, Steve, being forced, I think in a world where there's complete chaos and violence around you, yeah, I think you'd be a fool to sit there. Because see, I'm not like you, where I believe that the cloak of Jesus is going to protect me in every environment. I don't believe that.
Okay.
I don't believe that.
Okay, fine. Well, you don't believe that. Good thing I'm a Christian and I'm a believer. See, and that's part of what it is.
So that's
is
why you
believing
don't
in
need
faith.
a gun.
See, there you go interrupting me again at every word. See, I didn't do that to you, bro.
You did say something when I was just talking,
No,
Steve.
no, I said something when me and Brandon was talking.
No, you said something across me, man. Why do you keep doing that? That don't look good, Steve. We're talking, bro. This ain't no take turns thing. We're having a three-way conversation here, man.
No, I feel like for example, in that church, I think it was in Texas, that somebody came in there and attempted to do a mass shooting. I think he shot one person. Somebody there was carrying like a usher or something that killed him.
I heard
Saved
about
a
that
lot
too.
of people. So it's like stuff like that. If you have it and you're trained and you know how to use it, then you can,
I know you're giving me one example, Brandon. There was.
Could
What
you
about
let
what?
the man finish?
Okay, see, a minute ago you said I only do it to you.
I said, let the man finish.
I'll
He
even
did
say
finish.
too-
Let him finish. No, he didn't.
Because I like the thought of having maybe in every school there being like a teacher maybe that's trained and owns a gun or something like that, to where if something happens in a school, at least one person in that school can save some lives.
And that one person just happens to fucking be suicidal that day.
Why-
Or they
why
just
would
they
he
just,
be?
No, they just happen to be somebody that's going through marital problems, and
Yeah.
they come in and say, "Hey, I want to kill myself," like Justin said a little while ago. So I'm just gonna take all these people out with me. Every scenario that you could possibly give, because like that scenario you talked about with the church.
Yeah.
There was that same type of scenario. Steve, up there. There was that same type of scenario at a Waffle House.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That guy that was able to disarm that man, he didn't fucking have a gun. He was man enough to go in there and do it as a man.
Yeah. I mean,
See, because what happens, you get one supposed good guy with a gun and one supposed bad guy with a gun. You know what happens? You got crossfire.
Yeah.
And then that good guy with the gun accidentally shoots two people behind that bad guy with the gun. And then so you got
But that's why I'm hoping that supposed good guy with a gun goes to the range, knows what he's doing, is proficient enough to just one shot and put him down. That's why people go to the range.
Everybody's supposed to be a sniper. You're saying the whole country got to turn into snipers, huh?
It would, but I would, just like driving. If you're driving, I would hope you're proficient enough to not cause an accident when you get on the road. You know what I'm saying? Same with a gun. If you own a gun, I hope you're training and you're taking the steps necessary to make sure if something happens, you don't kill anybody but that target.
It was good that guy happened to be in the church at that time. It was good that
Yeah.
he happened to be there at that time to save the rest of the people. I agree. But like I said, for every one of those scenarios you can give, there's so many other scenarios. Just like those dudes up in northern Wisconsin with Chai Vang, they were all armed too.
Yeah.
But see, he was too fucking bad for
And
their
he was
ass.
cold, yeah.
And you know what? They're armed, talking shit to him, and he killed 6 or 7 of them,
Yeah.
and he by himself. So you always, for every scenario that you can give me that says, hey, a good guy did step up and save the day. There's 10 scenarios where somebody had a gun, they ended up getting killed. You know, they ended up being a coward and running with their gun. You know, like I said, I mean, I've seen too many scenarios, man. I've seen where people will run out of a situation. They got a gun until they can get some cover. They go hide behind a car or something, and then they start firing like this.
But that's not proper gun training. And that's my whole point. That's not proper. You know what I'm saying? That person wasn't trained. They don't know what they're doing.
But what I'm saying is you're putting guns by using your logic, man. You're putting guns in the hands of a lot of people. You know, everybody's not gonna take the same level of precaution, take the fact that they own guns, they have a deadly weapon in their hand. You know, because I'll be honest, the only time I ever shot a gun was in the military. I mean, just going to the range, which was required. That's the only time I've actually even touched a gun. You know, and I know that even touching that gun, it does. For one thing, it makes me nervous. Another thing, it gives you so much power that you don't even fucking deserve. You know, you don't. Huh?
Same thing as anything else.
You know what, Brandon? See, because when going back a long time when me and Steve was young, we didn't have all these mass shootings like we do today.
They weren't there, or they weren't reported on.
They were. I don't
on the
think,
news
I'm
every
not
day.
saying that they never happened, but it was nothing like it is today. And the reason that it wasn't is because people learned how to deal with their conflict. And I'm not saying people didn't. I've seen people get shot at, and I've seen that stuff too. But what I'm saying is people didn't think that that their only option for resolving conflict was to shoot somebody or have a gun.
Yeah, I mean, but you're kind of blanketing that on all gun owners. Not all gun owners have guns because they want to defend themselves. It's never to be like I'm now I'm powerful. Now I can do whatever I want.
Feel that way?
No,
I
don't think so. Not for sensible trained gun owners.
But I know, but the reality is, Brandon, is I know you're saying that people should have to there's people that are gun owners, that are NRA supporters that say, hey, all of that stuff requiring people to go prove their proficiency, requiring people to do this or do that. There are people that are members of the NRA that would say we shouldn't have to do that.
Well, and that's ridiculous. I feel like it should be a better background check. There should be a psychological evaluation. You should have to go through, gun safety training. Know how to load, unload safely. All that's, any of that, you should have to have a certain way to store it with kids in the house. And you should have to train. You should have to at least once a month or something go to a range. Make sure you know how to use it.
And every 2 years, take their pause.
And retest. Yeah. Did anything change since then? Did you start to, develop mental health or yeah? I mean, anything.
Exactly.
Me
being a diabetic. Seriously, me being a diabetic, let my diet be off. A diabetic will get loopy just by not eating regularly. Sugars drop too low, shoot up too high. See, a diabetic can get loopy. That's the whole thing about losing the weight, man, and trying to regulate that, man, because your sugar levels being off messes with you mentally.
Yeah.
And just little changes like that, you never, just the little thing, they need to start, checking for stuff like that. But, the NRA and manufacturers don't want that because that's going to mess up sales.
You ever heard the term temporary insanity?
Yeah.
Okay. See,
temporarily lose your gun.
No, anyone at any point in given time can go into what's considered temporary insanity, right? You walk in the house, you see your girl with somebody, or you see your man with somebody. You're driving your car. You just had a rough day at work. You're driving your car, and somebody cuts you off or flips you off or something like that. Things happen in your brain instantaneously. That a test that you had, a psychological test that you had 6 months or a year ago doesn't matter, because what you're dealing with at that moment, and that person has a gun. They're inclined to use that gun if they're angry enough.
Is temporary insanity an excuse or a reason used legally for those that can buy it?
Well, temporary. There people have.
I'm just asking the question.
Cases for temporary,
right? And those who could afford it.
Well, I know.
Oh, okay. So to throw let's bandy this out here again. Let's chop this out instead of just throwing this temporary insanity. You know what temporary my behind. You know what I'm saying? You either are or you aren't. I'm not temporarily diabetic. I am or I'm not. You know what I'm saying?
So your blood sugar gets off, and
I have ways to regulate that and to take that.
What if you don't have a way at that time?
Okay, but most of that is for me is going to be done through my diet. You know what I'm saying? I'm taking the necessary measures to make sure I stay in there. I test to make sure my numbers are in there. I have to do that throughout the day. There's nothing wrong with that person being tested mentally and on his ability to handle it efficiently and safely, is what is being said over and over again. See, it's here. It's happening. But there has to be a way to regulate it. I don't think there should be any AR-15s, no weapons that are on the battlefield should not be in the community. And I feel that way. If you're going to take a sawed-off shotgun, and that's still to this day, It's illegal to own a sawed-off shotgun because there's no law-abiding reason to have it. You tell me why there's a law. What makes you think there's a law-abiding reason to have a military weapon in the community?
Because the Second Amendment doesn't say it has to be a certain age. Because if you're
okay, but it doesn't say that. But see, if there's a reason where you can take the crossbow and the sawed-off shotgun out of communities, not that they're gone. Remember, they brought the crossbow back, but not that sawed-off shotguns are done. But if you get caught with one, not that it's going to shoot any more bullets quicker or faster than a regular shotgun. However, this military gun that's brought into the community can be made to be off the hook. I mean, dozens and dozens of rounds in a second. Hundreds of rounds in a minute.
well, there's
no
people that
reason.
will argue, man.
Well, they could argue what they want, but there's no law-abiding reason to have that in the community. I am against them. Am I against this is my on the fence thing. Am I against gun ownership? No. Am I against that in my community? Yes. And now, if you're going to compare the two where you can enforce this thing about shotguns and you cannot enforce this thing about AR-15s, makes no sense to me unless you are preparing a segment of people against another segment of people.
Yeah, I feel like there's certain rounds and calibers, that should be banned. I mean, that would be tough to do.
But see, to me, that's going to the argument about like wearing seatbelts and stuff, or anything. I think if you're going to, me personally, as much as I hate the Second Amendment, and I hate people that will sit on social media and talk like they're fucking tough about the Second Amendment and this and that. As much as I hate that shit, I also believe that, hey, you know what? It's an all or nothing thing, because you're not going to be able to walk in and kill a lot of people. But I mean, do you allow semi-automatic guns? Do you allow this? Do you allow, my thing is any gun will kill somebody, man. Any gun will. So for me, it's like, I believe we work at getting rid of the whole arsenal. I mean, I don't care if it's just a little 22 pistol or the baddest damn machine gun out there. To me, though, no one should have guns. Not at your ready. Not at any point where you can just wake up in the morning, walk downstairs. I watch enough murder shows and stuff, man, where I'm seeing there's people being murdered. I mean, not just a couple people here and there. There's thousands of people being murdered every day. Hundreds to thousands of people being murdered every single day in this country with guns. And that's where my problem is. They're not being murdered with butter knives or spatulas. They're not being murdered with that. They're being murdered with guns. And all of them people being murdered aren't being murdered with automatic weapons. They're being murdered with 22s. They're being murdered with 357s. They're being murdered with every kind of weapon that's made.
Yeah, but we have murder across the board. We got people dying from cigarettes every day, from cancer.
Well,
Why don't we start taking? Then you just got to take everything away at that point.
Well, I mean, but at least on cigarettes, there is a warning that says if you use this product, you're increasing your chance of cancer.
Well, that's the same with a gun.
Is there a warning on a gun?
I don't think you need a warrant to know this will kill somebody. But
I mean, maybe there should be a warning. Improper storage and use of this gun can cause accidental death.
Well, they
That's
do
what the
put
training is about.
Yeah,
that's
the training.
The whole thing
Yeah.
I was telling
Training's
about.
Not required though, Steve.
Okay, if you come here and you fill out that thing, first thing they're gonna ask you to do is go down to the gun range and take that shooting test. See, you have to follow all the steps. See, yeah, there's going to be people that break the rule, come down on them and come down on them hard. But there's things in place. Now, when those people want to take on ownership like that, even pet ownership, if you don't handle that right, you're behind us in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So there's things in place. We have to stop talking like they're not there. We have to have the conversation and force them. bring these things down. Now, you got to remember during the 30s, man, 20s and 30s, man, during the prohibition that we talked about, man, they had the weapon called the what? Had the drum on there, the Tommy gun. They got rid of it. Why? No law-abiding reason, and innocent people were getting hurt because it just let loose lead. Now we have this thing now that lets loose lead, and it's saying, okay, because I'm afraid of them.
You're right.
Okay? So my thought is get those out of there. At least it allows some of the thought time that you're talking about before the crime gets committed. I mean, or gets totally out of hand.
Yeah, I would.
See, most of the stuff that you're talking about where people still get killed is probably domestic, intimate, I know you. See, those are those things where
Those are most of the
those
murders.
are okay. Those are those things where you just got a regular handgun. These fools that I'm talking about in Vegas, Atlanta, Aurora, Columbine, and Boulder, Colorado. We have to watch Denver or Colorado, that state, man. Watch it. That's 3 major ones, right? You know what I'm saying? What's in the water? Anyways, I digress. But we have to, you have to look at it in those contexts, man. You can't compare those situations to the loose gunmen, San Bernardino, El Paso, Texas. I mean, see, that's what I'm talking about. That one there. What guns were used there? That's what I'm talking about. So I don't want to keep twisting and braiding them together to make this argument justify that one. You hear what I'm saying? I'm drawing a big, fat, bold line in between the two. Well, now, you can keep kind of jumping back and forth over it, but the main thing is here, I want a rifle. I want a shotgun, unsawed, and I want a handgun. Most of that, except for that rifle, is home defense. I'm not going to be walking around with how they got the shoulder strap shotgun that's sawed off where I can pull back my trench coat. I'm not trying to do that one. I'm not trying to walk around with my leg holster, man, walk around and trying to be a big man at the fair or out in public or something like that. That's not my thing. I'm more apt to deploy diplomacy when I'm in the street. My whole thing about needing a gun, man, with the way, especially for a while, in the area that I live in, they kick it indoors, doing home invasions on people. Like I said, I'm a Christian, love my higher power, man. Jesus is my reason. The whole nine. That's where my faith is. Run up in my house.
And you should have that right to be
exactly.
able to
I'm gonna let the hot ones ride.
And would you feel bad for somebody if they were in a home invasion and they got shot?
If I know my friend, no, he wouldn't.
No. Well, of course. Of course.
Now, he wants the police to beat up people.
No. Of course, if somebody comes into somebody's house and robs them and kills them, of course that's a. But like I said, that's not going to change the fact that I believe that total disarmament. I think when you get to a point where everybody's disarmed, somebody comes in your house, then it's man versus man.
Yeah, but what if it's a small woman against a big man? Then
exactly.
What if it's like a small?
She's got to be resourcely and use the other weapons that are available.
No,
to her. There's things in your house that Brandon. I can probably look at 10 things right now in this house that I could kill somebody with.
Yeah, but I'm talking about what if it's a 130-pound little woman,
right.
Older woman, against a 6'4" dude.
I know, but see, you guys are looking. That 130-pound woman is she's going to encounter 6'4" dudes everywhere she goes in life.
No, I'm talking about if somebody
unless she's got a gun plastered to her, her hip that she can. I mean, she's quick draw McGraw. She's always facing that.
But
danger.
I'm talking about home invasion.
If that happens in the street, 9 times out of 10, the people are going to stop that person from attacking that little, for lack of a better. I said 9 out of 10 times, 90% of the time, they're not going to let some dude sit there and attack some little woman. In the same note, man, let some big old dude. My mom, man, was a $110, man, 5'2", $110, man. You know what my stepdad did? Got her a little deuce, something that she could handle. All right, for the simple fact of. Let somebody come up in here. I know you can't whoop nobody. I gotta open up the ketchup bottle for you. I gotta open up the salad dressing jar for you. But I know you got enough strength, man, to pop with
I just
that
think
dude.
it's funny that people think a gun just automatically just protects you. You know what I'm saying? Like you, no matter what happens, you got that fucking gun in your house.
I don't know what makes you think that banning all guns is gonna make society right.
No, because I guarantee you there'll be more people living in this country. There'll be more people surviving conflict.
Did
you have something you want to add, Justin?
I was just gonna say, arm the women. That was it.
Well, yeah, I mean, in some cases, yeah, that's probably.
But
the
that's what a gun is. I mean, it does give you that ability to protect yourself.
To deter as well.
Yeah, exactly. If somebody busts in and they hear some shots, they're not going to continue to come back.
Just to add also, there's also small men, right? Weak men that wouldn't be able to defend themselves against certain women. Just to get that perspective also.
Well, the thing is, I guess for me, I don't walk through life with this expectation that at any moment of any day, you know, I'm going to be attacked. You know, now you're right. I mean, you're right. You know, you never know when something's gonna happen. You know, I'm 53 years old. And no one has ever come up to me. You know, except them punks the other day. They didn't really come up to me, but they had their weapon. You know, but no one has ever. I never felt like I was threatened to the point where you know I needed a gun. You know,
but the people shopping in King Supers in Boulder, and nobody in there thought they needed a gun.
No, and you know,
and look what happened.
If the world is the way I am, if this country's the way, they won't need a gun.
Man,
because there won't be a crazy ass dude that passed the background check. Yeah. That went through the whole process legally and obtained that gun. There won't be a crazy ass dude that drives 45 miles to kill him.
But unfortunately, the structure that the society will still be there. I think his motive was he was saying he was tired of how they were treating Muslims or something like that. That structure will always be in America. So until we attack that, it don't matter.
Exactly.
The hate is there, and so until that's addressed, the guns are nothing. That's not the root cause. Well, you know, I think that's what they said his motive was. It's something to do with Muslims. And you know how people are, you know.
And somewhere along the line, man, America needs to take a look in the mirror.
That's
because there's other countries, man, that have plenty of guns and they do plenty of hunting, man. But the rate of shootings has gone down because, number one, they don't have these automatic weapons, these rifles, man. They don't have these AR-15s, M16, M4s. They don't have them running through their society. See, they've regulated their militias. They've regulated their militias by keeping those type of guns out of society. See, we haven't reached that point yet. It's the entitlement. But America needs to look in the mirror. You know what? Because you have one thing about bringing your downtrodden here, you know, that we're going to lift them up. Mm-hmm. But everybody who comes here who wants to take a bite of the American dream, be part of the melting pot, how are they treated when they come here? And we'll just go back to the Native Americans who were here. 97% of them killed off and then the rest thrown on reservation. The black folks, the Mexicans or Latinx, your AAPI or your Asian Pacific Islanders, Asian American Pacific Islanders, your Japanese, your Chinese, everybody who's come across this border has been treated the Muslims, the Africans has been treated extremely funky by Americans. By Americans.
No, not Americans, Steve.
Okay, Americans.
By white Americans.
I said Americans.
So they the only Americans?
Okay, I said the Americans because you know why? Because I can't think of all those people I named. Whereas Native American, African American, Asian American, Chinese American, all of them have a stereotype their damn selves amongst each other. So Americans, okay? Mm-hmm. Americans, we hear this. With that being said, man, and to try to finish the thought real quick, is we are our own worst problem. See, you know what America's problem is? Americans. You see what's happening? What's causing the most destruction? Is it a Muslim? Mm-mm. Is it any other? Is it all white folks? Mm-mm. It's a certain section of people who call themselves maniacal Americans, the most purest of Americans, are causing the most problems for America. They're the ones that are trying to affect advancement. They're trying to set 2021 back to 1865, making America great again. Wasn't so great, unless you were. Okay, you know what I'm saying? No, I want you to just follow the thought, man. Because if you participate, you probably won't destruct. Help me construct the conversation.
Whatever.
You like that, but you know what? We're gonna have to take a good look at ourselves, America, because what we're saying is it was best when you weren't here, and it was best when you were enslaved. And that wasn't a great America for anybody at all. You know what I'm saying? Especially for somebody who came in and absconded somebody else's land. Now to come in here and to hear the conversation that old boy had with what's old girl's name? I know her last name is Sidner from CNN. You said, well, I'm an American. I have the right to have this appearance of American. The black reporter says, so do I. He said, but we've won the culture war. So in other words, forget your culture, forget who you are as a person, forget about what you want. It's my culture, and my culture is full of hate. And I've taken everything that I've owned from somebody else, and I won. I won because I overpowered people. I tricked people. I named universities after people that had committed some of the first versions of germ warfare, inoculating blankets with a smallpox and handing them out. And then we think this is such a great thing. And then we name streets and colleges and stuff after General Jeffrey Amherst. We think it's a great thing. We try to strip people of their cultures by taking the Native Americans and sending them out east, man, and beating the hell out of them if they speak their native tongue or it represent
you keep
anything.
Talking about we didn't do shit.
Okay, we as Americans, now you're in or you're out. So you're in to improve for all of us that are here, or you can keep separating yourself and say it's a different thing. So because that's the problem right now. America is segmented and not the coalescing thing. It's not the melting pot. See, because when we keep taking yourself out, them, they, woo, it's not the melting pot. Because remember, there's an ideal here, man. Remember the ideal of America, the experiment and what it can be. Not what it was.
You feel like you were included in that?
Oh no, that's why I gotta insert myself. You know, it's inserting yourself, man. And I have to. It's inserting yourself. But see, there's a real importance, man, right here, right now, where we stand. How today, what we do and what we think is important to our tomorrow, and it's got to be connected to our yesterday. You follow me? What we doing today to move ourselves forward, man, has to be built off of what happened yesterday. That's not being done. We ain't standing on the shoulders of the people that have done things just 30, 40, 50 years ago, and we have fell off bad. We have atrophied. Our muscles has gone away, man, and we're restarting, as you can say, with the new Jim Crow, 2021, reset 160 years plus, back to 1865.
The way I look at it, Steve, is just like I hold I sat here on podcasts in the past, and I hold black people accountable for what they are responsible for.
Indeed.
I'm going to hold the white man accountable for what he's responsible for. All those things all those supposed atrocities, those atrocities that you want to include yourself in, I'm not including myself in that shit. Because black people had nothing to do with any of those things. Whether it was internment camps of the Japanese, taking the Native Americans' land, we didn't have anything to do with that. So I'm going to let them be responsible for that. Just like they let us be responsible for shootings in Chicago, right? So let them be responsible for the things they do.
And a different point I was going to say is, you say you want to take away all guns and stuff like that. We've really romanticize gun ownership as well through like movies, through video games. You take Call of Duty Battlefield, they sell 150 million copies, first day. So from birth, you kind of grow up seeing like guns, like James Bond, like every movie's a shootout. You know what I'm saying? So it just creates this want as well. Like you want to own a gun.
No, and that's the good point. That is exactly why this country is obsessed with guns. Like I said, I for me personally, if there wasn't such an obsession and there wasn't mass murders, guns wouldn't be a problem for me. But the fact that people have taken weapons that are sold, that people all over the world have, and for some reason in the boundaries of this land, they've decided that, hey, we're going to use these weapons to intimidate the people that we don't like, that don't look like us. We're going to use these weapons if I'm sexually, if I feel like I got an issue with sexuality, and I'm going to go shoot, use that as your excuse to go shoot up Asian spas. And if you're going to have people like that, maybe this country needs to take a step back and say, let's get these like you were saying about mental illness issues, let's get these issues resolved. And then maybe once we get to a point where our country seems like they can handle the responsibility of having guns, we can look at reintroducing guns into our culture. But no, you know what? Even when it comes to hunting, man. See, for me personally, I believe the whole idea of hunting is savagery. I do. I believe that the whole idea of going and just shooting an animal that's minding his own goddamn business, that's part of what you would say God's creation, because God didn't just create human beings. He created those animals. And I know people say, well, he created those for our consumption. And but I believe the whole idea of just shooting an animal with a high-powered rifle, because the cavemen and the people back in biblical times, shit, they went out there with a slingshot and a rock and knocked the animal out, jumped on him, and choked the shit out of him. They didn't shoot him with a rifle that you can shoot from 200 yards away.
That was the technology at the time. I guarantee you, if they had the technology to have a gun, they'd have had one. And
no, that's your assumption.
Right, and you're assuming that they wouldn't. That's all they need. I mean, the weaponry didn't keep advancing for no reason. It wasn't just war. Sometimes it was to make hunting and gathering easier. With the same note, the same way you feel about hunting, some people feel that same way about fishing.
I can release a fish.
Yeah, you can release
I might put a little hole in his lip, but I release that fish.
Yeah, but how do you think he feel about the hole in his lip for something that you didn't want? Leave me alone.
Well, you know what the thing is, though?
Leave me alone.
The thing is, though, you shoot an animal, even if he doesn't die immediately, you've taken that animal's life. I can go out and catch 1,000 fish, and how many? And every one of those fish will live.
No, they won't, and you know that. No, every one of them won't live.
Well, sometimes I ain't like you, Steve. I don't let my fish swallow the hooks.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, whatever the case was, he talked about. We're gonna get this out here and gonna clear this up.
Whatever, man.
I had the shortest fishing pole out there. Why? Because we were in a boat. He didn't think I could fish. Why? Because he always stands me up and leaves me when he goes fishing. When we went fishing. Man, just answer the question.
You caught a couple, man.
Did I caught just as couple of many as you caught? Because then if I caught a couple, then you only caught a couple. Because I bing, fish on the whole time with you. All right. I digress. But some people feel that same way about your fishing. Why even go out there? Because it's the sport. Some people go out there and they have the spotting scope and everything else, man, to look at animals, man, and they have no rifle up underneath that. And they're out there because they're out there with their spotting scope because they like to be there. There's people that like to go with groups of hunters that have no intention of hunting at all, but like to be in the atmosphere. That's what they want to do. But some people go out there and hunt, and they add to their meals by doing that. You know what I'm saying? My problem is when you got somebody like Donald Trump Jr. who's just out there trophy hunting. I have a problem with that. I have a problem, man, when I see a fish mounted on the wall, man, as well. What they do with all that meat?
They probably ate it.
Yeah, probably. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't, I wonder the same thing when I see antlers up there. Now, I know you can't eat them antlers, man, but I surely hope that you use the rest of that animal. Yeah. And that's my mindset. You don't go out there and take somebody's life to extrapolate even on it more. You got people, man, that don't believe in people wearing fur coats, man, and will take it upon themselves to throw blood or paint on somebody's fur coat. Mm-hmm. And especially if they're vegan or vegetarian, they're more apt to do it. See, what pisses me off in that scenario, he's holding his pants up with a leather belt. I eat no meat. I got on a leather pair of tennis shoes. I eat no meat. I have I got a leather, wallet. I eat no meat. Well, then all your shit should be made out of hemp.
No,
The reason why I say that, because if you're eating plants, wear plants. See, I'm using all of what I eat. You understand me? So that's where I'm going for it. See, you kill the animal, let the meat go rancid just because I want leather. Something wrong with that to me.
Well, I hear you, man.
Follow me.
I hear you, man.
Follow me.
Well, like I said, it's obvious that we ain't gonna change each other's opinion on this.
I think you've already told how you waffle. I think you're more in the middle than I am. I'm totally opposed, but I'm seeking information on what?
I'm not seeking information on anything, Steve.
Oh,
I would much rather prefer to never ever consider getting a gun.
But you are.
No, I said I've considered it, but I'm not seeking information, Steve. I'm not doing any research. If it happens, it happens. I'm not. The thing is, Steve. Let me clarify something, because Steve keeps talking this shit. Let me clarify something. The only reason I would ever consider having a gun is because society, and it's probably the case with most people, society has made me believe that the bad man is coming my way, right? Mm-hmm. Society has made me believe that, hey, if I don't get a gun, the bad white man wants to come and kill me.
Okay.
And they feel, and it's just funny to me that the white people feel the same way. They feel, it's just magical how politicians and how the media and how the NRA has convinced us. Like, you sit and talk, like I hear people talk about how using racial terms like black and white, how that's what they use to keep us divided and keep us apart. But it's crazy how the media and the NRA and all these people have convinced us for us to all go out here and buy guns. These gun manufacturers are making a killing, because they taught us, hey, you got to fear this person got to fear you. You got to fear this, and this person's got to fear that. My thing is, you know what? Let's get back to the old days.
Okay.
We have an argument. We're out playing football or something. We have an argument. You think you can whoop my ass? I think I can whoop your ass. Let's handle it at the 50-yard line and call it a day.
Yeah, but I don't want you running up on 120, 130-pound people, man,
well,
talking about let's box.
30-pound person need to shut the fuck up talking.
Oh, see, now you want to regulate the First Amendment right. Now you're trying to regulate free speech with size and weight. But just to get back on track.
I'm not a bully, though, Steve. I'm a bully, man. Whatever, man.
I'm not even going. I'm gonna ignore that question and just get back. Hopefully, I can get some yes or no questions from you, or some yes or no answers from you. Did you say you were going out to pursue a gun permit and to look at guns? Yes or no?
No, Wesley and I.
Yes or no? Yes or no? That's why I say
it's not a yes.
Yes, it is.
Well, okay. I said that. Yeah, I said no, what I said is, yeah, I'm thinking about doing that.
Your Honor, can I treat the witness as hostile? Because I can't seem to get a yes or no answer out of him. Can I treat him as hostile?
But I've explained to you why why that's even a consideration for me at this point.
Okay,
Steve.
Yes or no? I mean, you are for, against, or waffling. To me, it sounds like waffling. If I'm dead set against it, but I'm letting somebody else dictate my feelings on it, then I'm waffling. But it's one thing that I'm 100% on the board, and I hate when I do this. Then I get on board with you, man. I'm on Team Dak. But it is fear is what's driving it, because the white man is afraid of me because of the way I'm stereotyped and perpetrated, or the perpetuation of the stereotype from the news media tentacles, whether it's WCCO, KSTP, and I'm just naming local, you know what I mean? You know, it's the picture that they've put out there. Their reaction to it, this fear mongering, making black men the boogeyman at every turn. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, because that's what the Ku Klux Klan came in here, to keep black men from raping white women, to make them into a boogeyman. That has not gone away. And that's what's still happening. See, now they want to get a gun because they're afraid of me, and they want to protect their daughters from me. Keep your daughter from knocking on my door. You know what I'm saying? then that's going to end a lot of our problems right there. Stay out, you live way out here. Why do you keep riding around the streets over here? You know what I'm saying? You're putting yourself in the situation. So don't think it's me going after her. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because of his fear of me being a boogeyman and how I've been stereotyped and portrayed on the news, has him doing things that are way out of line, politically and socially. Okay? Now we're taking a look at this man with these AR-15s where people are just getting sprayed up. My music's too loud in my car, and I'm at the gas station, which is none of your business how loud my music is at the gas station. That's between me, the neighborhood, and the gas station owner. And if he thinks my music is too loud, then say something. But the white dude had the audacity to come over and tell somebody to turn their music down. And when they didn't turn their music down and it turned into an argument, he thought it was okay for them to shoot him. And that's happened several times. Now, I'm afraid of you. See, gun ownership is coming out of fear.
It is.
Not protection of home. It's coming out of fear. And sometimes fear will make you respond offensively because you thought. Bring this back home. Did you ever see a gun? Not what you assumed or what looked like. Did you ever see a gun that morning with them young men? Did you ever see one?
Well,
Yeah, and did you ever? Yes or no? That's what we're trying to.
Okay,
Yes or no?
No, listen, Steve.
Okay, we're
No,
gonna. I just wanted yes or no.
I
Hostile.
can't, because
hostile.
that's a
hostile.
ridiculous. That's a ridiculous.
It's either yes, I seen it, or no, I seen it. No, I didn't.
I'm not gonna answer that because there's no way to give you a yes or no question.
It's the
on that,
Republicans.
Steve. It's not. There's no way to give you a yes or no question.
You're a dino. You're a Democrat.
And you know what? And I'm gonna tell you, Steve.
Just
The fact that I didn't see a gun is the only reason he's alive today. Right?
Okay.
So
All right.
just you leave it at that. Leave it at that, because it would have been very easy for me to just take him out right there. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
How would you have felt if you took him out and you realized he had a bag of Skittles?
I'm smart enough to know that I'm not gonna do that unless I see something. Right? I'm smart. I'm personally
because you said one of the. I know good and well. I bet anything he had. I can tell. I know.
Well, when
this is what you said in the past.
I'll put it this way: he had his hand on. He had his hand on something. Something tangible. He had his hand on something in his waistband. Yes. Now, did I see the still? Did I see it come out? No. But you know what? If I would have, he would be dead right now. There's absolutely no doubt.
I could see brothers that walk up and down the street all day long, and it looks like they got something in their pocket, and they doing this. You know what I'm saying?
No, but he wasn't holding.
9 times out of 10, the brother holding his pants up.
Well, he was holding. Steve, he wasn't holding his pants. He was holding something inside his pants.
Okay.
So
I wasn't there. I wasn't there.
It could have been a cell phone, but that's exactly why. Like I just said, man, and you want to keep trying to catch me on that.
No,
but that's
I'm
exactly why that boy is alive today. Because if I would have seen something, it would have been nothing for me to floor my fucking van, and he would have been dead within a split second.
But do you see where I'm saying? You had stereotyped and had a perception of the young man.
Come on,
Hold
Steve.
up, and you assume, well, you said he had no business out there. He probably sneaking out of the house. There's times where I snuck out the house and we hung out.
And you didn't have no business out there either.
Right, I needed my behind tore up. But nobody wanted to run me over. You know what I'm saying?
You don't know that.
Nobody wanted to run me over. They'd have been wrong because we was up in North
Well,
Carolina.
would you have chased a car down the street? A dead end street? Would you have, if you were riding a bike with your little friends?
I'll tell you.
Would you have, if you saw a car go by, would you have said, "Okay, I'm gonna chase"?
I'm gonna tell you 2 reasons.
You wouldn't have, because you weighed 300 pounds back then.
Right. There's 2 reasons why. Number one, I'm an animal. I mean, I'm not an animal. I'm not a dog, so I'm not gonna be chasing no car. Number 2 reason, man. I can't catch no fucking car.
He knew it, but I just said he knew it was a dead end. He knew I was going down there, getting out of my car, or I was gonna have to come back. Okay, he knew that because there's a big ass sign on the street that says "dead end street." So he knows that. I'm sure he rides down that street all the time, so he knows if he's going down here, he's either going to be getting out of his car in his driveway, or he's going to be coming back toward me. So we can, like I said, man.
Did he live on that dead end block?
I don't know. I don't know if he did, but I can assume he didn't because he was coming from the other street. I can assume that he didn't, but I don't know
Did
that.
he just sneak from his girlfriend's
But
house?
why would he need to stop his bike in the middle of the street? We getting way off topic, like you always say. But
I'm just asking because it was related, because it was related to the gun situation and the fear factor. Because we're talking about guns, fear, and now you become a gun owner. Now you're running out there making misinterpretations about what you see.
One thing you can't do is try to pigeonhole me into somebody.
No, that's why I'm
asking.
asking.
Because you keep using this term stereotypes, and because you used that a minute ago.
Right.
If you really truly believe that I'm somebody that buys into stereotypes of black people, you're out of your goddamn mind. Because see, the thing with me is no. You are. I'm gonna call a fucking pig a pig. I'm gonna call a fucking dog a dog. See, I don't just walk down the street looking at every young black person and just assume that there's mischief behavior, in that black person or young black man or young black girl. I don't just assume those things. I'm somebody that looks at somebody and I find myself in a situation, and I know how my life experiences tells me how I got to cope with this specific situation. These kids, if it would have been 3 other black kids riding down the street, and they would have just been doing what teenagers do, Steve, it wouldn't have even crossed my mind. I didn't even say anything to my son Derek till I got halfway down the street, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and this boy's going as fast as he can. That's when my suspicion raised. Because if they were just riding down the street like kids do when they sneak out of the house, as you say, it wouldn't have mattered to them if a car passed them. They wouldn't have felt the need to race up behind that car unless there's something going on with them. So that's when my suspicions were raised. Because if I would have been suspicious at sight, I never would have turned down that street. See, I turned down that street after I saw them. Now, if I would have been suspicious in any way, just at the sight of these 3 young teenagers being outside, Steve, I would never, because I knew that was a dead end street, because I deliver over there every day, so I know the street's a dead end. So we can argue that, but I know the facts. I know I know that there was something going on. I know the boy was holding something, and that's exactly because I even told Derek, if he pulls his gun out, I'm telling I'm gonna have to kill this boy. I'm gonna run him over, and I'm the kind of person, if I get to a point where I gotta kill you, there's no mercy from me. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I will leave my van sitting right on top of your fucking body.
It shouldn't be.
So if it ever
talking death, you better be damn sure.
That's right. If I ever get to that point where I gotta do something like that, it's over.
I'll feel bad for taking the life, man, but I'm not going to feel bad for saving my own.
That's right. Okay.
And that I agree with. I don't.
So
I'm just not telling you. You don't take a life and then be like, well, I regret taking it. I took it so I could stay alive. That's my point. But I got to be damn sure.
And we all know that at that point in time, people have been getting carjacked. We know that. It's been all over the news. So, I'm not, like I said, that's one of the advantages of coming from where I come from, because I know how to look at situations and know if I'm in danger or if I'm not in danger. So when I saw that there was something coming up, that there was something going on, of course, my radar is going to go up. But see, I'm smart enough to say, okay, there's a limitation to my radar. I'm not gonna just turn around and run him over for no reason, because my lights were right on him. I would have seen it as soon as it came out. And you know what? If he would have did that, I'm telling you, you'd have been seeing me on the news. And you know what? I'll be honest with you, Steve. I wouldn't have felt too bad about it, bro, because I'm somebody that's always gonna protect me and mine. I'm always gonna do whatever is necessary, man.
And I agree.
Sometimes that's using a gun in that type of situation.
I understand that. But see, when it comes to defending yourself, what I'm talking about is total disarmament. I'm not talking about the bad, because believe me, if you get to the point where you ramp this shit up, where police are looking for guns, you get stopped for just a random stop, and it's a requirement that, hey, anytime we stop you, and people will say, well, that's going to be disproportionately affecting black people.
So you saying anytime they stop you, they can search your vehicle for
Fuck
something?
yeah! With what
I don't want to live in no society like
well,
that.
you know what?
where they can
Until
pull me over.
we get this gun thing under control, I personally don't have a problem with it.
And it's not like I have anything to hide, but I don't. You're not gonna pull me out and tear my.
Pulling him over every week
because you know it's gonna be disproportionate. You know it.
Well, of course, and you know what? It's unfortunate, man.
Just like
and
stop and frisk.
And I'm not saying that that's right. It's I believe, but the reality is we live in a society that there's too much gun violence, and all I'm trying to do is say, you know what? I'm just coming up with an idea that I have as to how to combat gun violence. You know, I'm tired of mass shootings. I'm tired of just even a domestic case. I'm tired of that, man. I personally know a few people that have been murdered at the hands of a jealous boyfriend or murdered at the hands of a jealous girlfriend. I mean, I you know, like I said, I've seen this shit happen. I see what happens from it. If that person does not have a gun, the situation is different, man.
22 years ago, my little cousin, Johnny, shot and killed by a dude and two of his friends because his girl, the shooter's girl, didn't want to be with him anymore. It started dating. Wasn't even serious. Started dating this girl. Mm-hmm. Came over to her house to pick her up. Him and his two other friends come out from the side of the house, man, and they walk around my cousin's car shooting it. He gets hit 6 times. He's not even come to a complete stop in front of the girl's house before they see the car and run out and start shooting at him, man. And he crashes into a tree right off of 34th and 3rd. I mean, it was the whole Hollywood thing. And he slumped on the horn, man. Car crashed into a tree. These guns that they have weren't legally bought or anything else. When I think we amp up the tracking of properly obtained and responsibly owned guns, we don't have situations like that. I would have loved, not that he would have been in any situation, I would have loved for him to have a properly obtained.
You think he'd have been able to protect himself with three people ambushing him?
No, I think I started that part of the conversation out with, it probably wouldn't have helped him none because he was driving. But I really would have liked for him to have had a properly obtained and safely and responsibly operated gun. See, my problem is where he would have been in a position to protect himself, because these 3 dudes were laying and waiting on somebody who's, 5'7", 140, 150 pounds, you know what I'm saying? And these cats is all of them over 5'10", you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Laying and waiting for them. See, the problem was their guns weren't properly obtained. You know what I'm saying? Their guns were illegal and not tracked. See, that's my problem with the gun ownership. When you possess something that was not properly obtained, it's unable to be properly tracked, and nobody knows the serial number. See, I have a problem when you can run into Wisconsin or into Gary and bring a gun back. That's crossing state lines. I think it should be times 10.
The guys with the last 2 murder shootings, they both properly stayed within their states. Mm-hmm. They properly obtained their guns, stayed within their states, right, and still committed. Okay. See, at the end of the day, does it matter to the person that shot if the gun was legal or illegal? Does it really fucking matter? I don't. If one of my sons went out here and got killed, or one of my nephews or nieces or somebody went out here and got killed, it wouldn't matter to me if the bullet came from a legal or illegal fucking gun. Because there's a lot of people that have guns legally that go out here and do dirt too. And who's to say that Brandon has a legally obtained gun and it happens to be sitting in his car with him. He gets out of the car, he's with one of his cousins, and his cousin grabs a gun and goes up and shoots someone. You see what I mean? Then
the cousin takes full responsibility, and then there's added charges because you.
So is it Brandon that takes full responsibility, or his cousin?
I think the person who takes the gun and commits the crime, because his gun is legal.
Yeah, but he didn't legally have it. He didn't have it stored in a place that was.
But he has the right to conceal and carry, just like somebody can have a gun rack in their car. You know what I'm saying? Somebody snatches the rifle off the gun rack in the back.
I say you get rid of gun racks. You get rid of fucking racks in your house. You get rid of everything.
I think that's unrealistic.
I know
mean,
people. Well, like I said, people thought that stopping people from smoking in restaurants at one point was unrealistic too. Because I remember the arguments. I never thought that something like that was unrealistic. Because
if you go through a chain, all it takes is the man that owns the chain restaurant to say, "I never want this." Yeah. It all takes the man in the chain to say, "We're not going to be open on Sundays because I'm a Christian." You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, Steve, is the arguments back in those days, and I'm sure you remember on the news, they'd be talking to smokers. And they're taking away my rights, and these restaurants and bars are all going to end up closing down because they don't want people smoking in them.
But I'm gonna say, just like I said about the vaccine, you know what I'm saying? You're well within your right to not take the vaccine. You have no right to impose that on somebody else and affect their health. I have every right to smoke if I choose to. And people will tell you if I'm outside smoking, man, and I'm walking down the sidewalk, I'm more apt to step in the street when you're walking by, because I don't need to cram my shit down your throat.
I know, but you're Mr. Respectful, man. See, everybody ain't Mr. Respectful like.
Oh, you know what? I might be Mr. Respectful, but you know what I'm happy about?
What's that?
My mama was Miss Whoop Your Ass. You gonna know how to treat other people.
But you
don't wipe those dirty shoes on somebody else's carpet.
Most people don't have those kind of considerations for other people. They just don't.
I tell you what, you get out of line. TTT.
Oh, whatever, man. You guys heard him threaten me, right?
No, I'm looking for the picture of your mama. That's the one you bet. Don't worry about me. Worry about her. Make her look bad to see what happened. I'm looking for the fact, mama. I'm looking for the picture of Mama Whitfield. I know it's around here, and that's the kind of mama. It don't matter what color you in. I'm gonna tell you a story. Me and my wife were out in Maple Grove one time. Remember that? Yeah. Mama's boy. We riding down the street, and I don't realize that the lady trailing Dak is his mama. They're not, Dak done took off and left his mama by about 6-8 feet, man. And I'm like, "Hey, fat boy, what are you doing out here?" She heard it first, and she stopped right in front of my car, right or wrong. She turned around real slow, man. I mean, with the gunslinger look on her, y'all. Looked at me, and I'm like, when I seen that, I was like, "Hey, Dak, how you doing?" He's like, "Hey, Steve, woo, woo." She turned back around real slow, like, "Whoo, I almost shot you." Right or wrong.
Hey, I'm a mama's boy.
Right. And the same thing is, let you get out of pocket with somebody. What's going to happen? No matter how big you are, no matter how small she is, what's going to happen? She's going to tighten you up.
She will. There ain't no
All
doubt.
right, then. You got to whoop your ass mama, too.
we definitely had that.
All right.
So, let's go ahead. What do you guys... Is there like something you want to close with, Brandon, on the issue of gun safety or you're supporting addiction to guns?
I just think if we're really gonna get rid of it, you gotta address some stuff. You gotta just address mental health. You gotta address this addiction to guns. You know what I mean? There's a lot to it. It's multi-layered. But I think a reasonable thing would be just to expand background checks, to expand restrictions on certain guns, and hopefully, we could work towards something better.
I would add that I'm all about military weapons out of communities and on the battlefield where they belong. They do not belong in communities. I think there needs to be, I don't want to say regulations, but I think there needs to be a better way of tracking guns and ownership of the guns and gun sales. Now, that's probably an area we need to get rid of, is secondary gun sales. Because it becomes, the paperwork starts to become convoluted, it starts to disappear, and they end up in the wrong people's hand. We're going to have to step up mental health around these guns and throughout society as a whole. Because I think mental health is starting to become more prevalent within our community, plural, nationwide. finger, eye, and pulse of what's happening here in Minnesota. But nationally, I think it's on the rise. I think when we start to address those things where they're properly obtained, and the oversight, the taking people's pulse every 24 months, because it's a gun after all. It can't be every 3 or 5 years, but every probably 2 years. You're going to take people's pulse, see what's going on as far as their mental health, what type of medication you're taking, because if you're taking something, psychosis or psychotropic drug, I'm really worried about you owning a gun. So there's some things and some oversight. And here's another thing, man. Because you have to do these things, because you choose to be a gun owner, same way I have to buy tabs every year for my car in order to drive, maybe there's a way to generate some tax-based dollars or some money for your community by having to get a permit or tag for your gun each and every year. If you want to drive, I'm getting you for money. If you want to own a gun, I got to get you for money, that permit to carry that gun. Your permit is only a 365 day permit. And then that next year you got to get recertified so I can check your eye and your mind. You probably have an in-depth one every 2 years. See, there's ways around this to get some responsible ownership. What we see in this community, these aren't legally obtained guns. What you're seeing happen on the down low, what you're seeing on the news, these usually are not properly obtained guns. The travesty was Philando Castile, properly obtained, then used as an excuse to straight gun you down.
Yeah.
Well, you just lost a lot of people when you started talking about taxing the guns, for one thing.
Well, I don't care.
A lot of them rednecks ain't trying to hear nothing about increased taxes.
Leave people alone. I don't want to throw rocks. I don't want to throw rocks at people, man, and then get pissed off when they pick them up and throw them back.
I want them to throw them back. Let them, because especially if they want to come in here and then throw them back at me in my face, I'm fine with that. We can have that conversation.
Yeah, but let somebody throw one at the grocery store.
You start talking about raising taxes.
Well, I'm not really raising taxes, but I want to tax the ownership, just like you don't tax my car on the year of it. I mean, not really tax my car, but you want me to play for my tabs and stuff, and it's based on based on every year. I gotta come see, but this is a way to do it. And then what you do with that money is you add more regulations and parameters around gun ownership. Then maybe you can have a gun range where people can be properly trained and register guns. See, they pay for the thing that allows them to do this in a healthy and respectable and responsible manner. See what I'm saying? Just like our taxes or the tabs and stuff on our car help keep the roads and help maintain those things that allow us to be able to drive those automobiles in a respectable, responsible, and safe manner.
Well, I stand on what it is that I started the conversation with, and that is, I believe the only way we get to a completely peaceful community is total disarmament. I think that the entire country needs to, and if we're not going to disarm, which it probably is just a pipe dream of mine, it's probably never going to come to fruition. If we're not going to totally disarm, I do believe that there should be a gun ownership standard that's federal, that goes from coast to coast.
No doubt.
And
it looks no different.
That's right.
I agree.
You shouldn't be able to travel 20 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour to another state and buy weapons.
Preach.
No. So if we're, because I know that the thought of people losing their weapons and losing their guns is it's almost something that's just incomprehensible to people. So I understand that. And until we get to the point where that conversation can become a serious conversation, we do at least need to be looking at smarter ways to have people have guns. This whole argument about mental health, I don't buy that. I think people use mental health as an excuse to lash out and do the things that they do. Mm-hmm. I mean, because I feel like at some point in my life I've dealt with mental health, and a lot of people are dealing with it every day. They don't go out and just and kill somebody because
I agree. I have this thing. I have this thing about mental health, man, and you can count me if I'm wrong, and I think everybody can identify with this. We always went to school with some cat a couple of cats that everybody said was crazy. Did you ever see how wise he got when he got up to that cat that was gonna whoop his ass?
Yeah.
You see how his mental health, how his mental capabilities and stuff, everything lined up quick.
Yeah.
When he knew he was gonna get his behind touched. See, crazy is administered in the right environment and the proper doses. Am I making sense here? Because just people who want to be known as crazy, when they know they're gonna get their behind lit up, man, you might as well be a Rhodes Scholar. They get smart as hell, don't they?
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
That's what I'm saying, man.
So I mean, it's it's selective. Crazy is selective.
Yeah.
More times than not. Now, mental health issues, that's a different thing. Those have to be addressed in a different manner.
They do.
Because there's people out there that are suffering from mental illness.
Because let me give you an example of something. You look at people that are documented as mentally unstable people. You got the Jeffrey Dahmers, the Ed Geins, and they got movies depicted, Silence of the Lamb. None of those people killed their people with guns, right? I mean, I don't remember. I think they either knives or something else. See, so people my point in saying that is people that are out to kill someone. They're gonna find a tool to kill them.
Okay,
Whether it's poisoning somebody.
There's something else about them 3 people too.
What's that?
They all ate somebody.
No, they did. But what I'm trying to say is
that's mental illness. If you ask me,
that's mental illness, and they didn't have a gun to do it. So my thing is we have to get to a point where we like you said, we deal with the mental illness issues in the world. But the fact is that when you allow people to have an instantaneous way of taking someone's life, I mean, we have to consider different. We have to at least be willing to listen to different ideas as to how to get past this. So that's my only point, man. I mean, so if you guys are good, man, we'll go ahead and just end this podcast for today. We appreciate you guys listening to this one again. Thanks.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Dialogue to Destiny. We sincerely hope you enjoyed today's show. All of us here truly appreciate your continued support. A simple way to support our show is by giving this video a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel. This free action helps boost the show tremendously. We are committed to improving the content and quality of this podcast and are always open to any and all suggestions. If you wish, you can always contact the host of the show at the email shown on screen or simply leave a comment. Feel free to recommend topics or even guests for future shows. Again, thank you for your support, and we will see you next time on Dialogue to Destiny.